Hello, welcome to the second episode of No Holds Barred. That's Sal.
Hiya, welcome.
Hey. And I'm Don. Together we're going to take a weekly look at all things political, social, anything else we can think of. No Holds Barred. This is week 2. Hopefully our recording will be better than our initial week. Apologies for the tech fail. That was my fault. Recorded on the wrong microphone. Bit of a rookie error, but hopefully we'll be all right this week. So, that being said, what you need to do, we'd love it for you to get in touch with us if possible. You can send us a WhatsApp video or a voice note if you don't want to be on video. All the details will be in the show notes. There's a WhatsApp number for you. Or you can DM us on Twitter, at NoHoldBarredPod. DMs are always open. Don't send anything mean or horrible, please. Or you could email us on NoHoldBarredPod@proton.me. Get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. This week we've got a special guest who has done that and sent us a righteous rant, which will be coming up a bit later. A very exciting guest. So that's cool. Right. So let's get on with the show. Sal, how are you?
Let's spit some facts. Oh, nearly recovered from a trip to Spain.
Yeah.
Not
Funny
quite.
trip.
But we have nicer weather here than there was in Spain last week, so that's nice.
Yeah.
Sun without the wind. And then we land back on Twitter, don't we? When we get back to the UK, and it's all still mental.
Always. Absolutely, always.
One day it must end, but then we will run out of things to talk about.
Well, yeah, hopefully not.
That'd be nice.
Then the pod finishes, right? So, yeah.
So where do you want to start? Because we've got a lot to talk about this week.
We have got a lot to talk about this week. What should we start with? We thought initially we were going to do a PMQs roundup every week, but I'm not sure if that's 100% necessary every week because it's pretty rubbish, right?
Performative minister's queries. It's fucking nonsense.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, have I sworn too early and I don't know what the rules are.
No holds barred, we're allowed to swear.
Oh, that's a very valid point. Excellent.
I marked the show as explicit in all Spotify and all the various podcast hosts, so I don't think we should be getting kids listening.
Oh, well, that'd be smashing. Although swearing is very much the least of kids' worries these days.
Yeah, very true.
Which brings us swiftly on to literally anything.
Yeah.
Because that's how terrible it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing I didn't mention when we were having our sort of pre-pod chat, were we going to talk about the very old man who died? And then, fortunately, the day he died, there was no other news happening anywhere on the globe at all. It was just the old man died.
But I missed it somehow. So you're going to tell me about it, right?
Well, there was a very old man doing a job in Rome, and he died because he was quite old, I assume. And now we've got a lineup of eeny, meeny, miny, mo popes who are either very left-wing or very right-wing, and there seems to be no in-between. Now, when you think of the course of history and politics and popes and, I don't know, even football teams and stuff, it seems to be a one or the other, doesn't it? So I'm a bit concerned that we're about to get some sort of satanic monster.
Yeah. Some sort of ex-Nazi, lived in Argentina, kind of right wing.
I have not looked into it, for I do not hold with organised religion. Each to their own. Enjoy your faith behind your closed doors. Just don't let it affect anybody else.
Sure.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
So, I just thought I'd bring it up because it happened.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely a thing that happened this week.
In all seriousness, the last Pope, bless his heart, did seem to be a decent fella who did some very, very decent things and angered some very terrible people.
Yeah, he did. As far as I know.
The chances of getting 2 of those in a row, I would say, are infinitesimally small.
Yeah, what is it? There's about 80 lined up, I think, isn't there? Or something like that to be chosen from. 80?
Oh, I don't know. I saw a short list of about 10, I think.
Oh, has it gone down? I'm not up on my Pope.
Is that? I don't know how the business works. Like I say, it's not I think when you're surrounded by that much gold and wealth, while there's people homeless in the streets of the big country you live in, I think you can fuck off. I just can't.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry.
Cough, the royal family. Yeah. I think we should talk about that at some point in the forthcoming episode.
The biggest benefit claimants we have.
Exactly. Yes. I think we could be saving an awful lot of money if we don't.
At some point, we must find something to disagree on.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Or we'll have to get people on to argue with.
I was going to say, maybe we can get some guests. Maybe we can get some people from GB News to come on and provide a bit of balance. Is that the right word? No, that's not the right word. A bit of...
You're taking me right back to the best interview I've ever seen. Well, not interview, because it wasn't an interview. The best... How would you even describe what Marina Purkiss did to Rees-Mogg?
Oh, yeah. A demolition?
Sexual chocolate. It was fucking brilliant. But I don't know that I wouldn't have jumped across the desk and throttled him. So mind you, if we're doing it over Zoom, it should be fine.
A virtual throttle. Yeah, that's true. Marina and Rees-Mogg, yeah, that was quite something.
You're drawing attention to these things that actually don't impact people's lives. And the reason you're doing that is because otherwise people might just focus on the real grievances in their life, which are basically caused by your government.
But doesn't no platforming actually affect people's lives? Because freedom of speech is absolutely essential for the political discussion that we're going to have.
Jacob, but do you know what really impacts people's lives? And I really would just ask your viewers, you probably dislike me if you know who I am, but just ask your viewers to think about what really impacts their life. Is it Roald Dahl being rewritten, which, by the way, I don't think it should be? Is it the renaming of a street? Is it, I don't know, some woke policy? Is that really what's harming people? Or is it the concern that they are going to be waiting for an ambulance and dying? Is it the concern that their children are getting a poor education? Is it the concern that we've got the highest energy bills on the planet?
But isn't this why you should stand up for freedom of speech? Because if you attack freedom of speech in some areas, you're then putting the government in control of the agenda. You're deciding politicians should...
Mr. Freedom of Speech here, did you or did you not vote to stop people protesting if it was annoying?
Well, there are limits on protest, but
so
public
free speech,
protest
so long as I'm OK with it.
Oh, it's beautiful stuff. I mean, it all rolls into the same thing. I've got the Labour UN reports that not Labour UN reports, I apologise, the UN reports on poverty and disability discrimination.
Yeah.
That one of our Twitter pals, where are we? At Sue Jones says, great account. Very factually accurate. She retweeted a Labour tweet from 2017 that I would just like to read. It's a video tweet that they put up, but the text in it reads from the Labour Party official account. The UN have published a damning report on the Tories' catastrophic failures to disabled people. They then flash up headlines from BBC, ITV, Independent and The Guardian, a la UK austerity policies amount to violations of disabled people's rights.
Mm-hmm.
The report says the Tory cuts disproportionately affect disabled people. All three of their austerity policies are illegal.
Okay.
The Tories have neglected the most vulnerable people in our society. Only Labour will rebuild a country for the many. Now, notwithstanding, this was the era of the human being leadership of Labour, the ones that were ruthlessly booted out by psychopaths.
Right.
But the facts of the matter don't change. Since 2017, there have been subsequent reports which have been even more scathing due to the fact that austerity has been made worse by the mismanagement of inflation, by the mismanagement of the economy, by the political choices that these sociopaths make, by literally killing the most vulnerable. And we have all the stats to prove that they've been doing it for 14 years, increasingly. And now the very same Labour Party want to make this all worse.
Yeah.
Do we think that's going to be more illegal or less illegal?
Yeah, it's a tough one. So,
and then, notwithstanding, because I have to mention it, they're attacking PIP, which supports disabled people to go about their lives, whether they work or not.
Yeah.
Many, many PIP claimants rely on the PIP for expenses to get to and be able to fulfill their job.
Yeah, of course.
If we take that money away from these working people who are disabled, they will not have the facilities to go to fucking work.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a difficult kind of equation, does it? It's a very strange
and then
policy.
You can be sick and disabled, but don't be under 22 when you're doing it.
Sorry, Siri's just interrupted me. Hold on, I'm going to mute Siri on my watch. 1 second, there we go.
It's a bamboozle, because it makes no fucking sense. None of it makes any sense to anybody. So the people who do support it are literally either unbelievably dense and ignorant, or the manipulative gaslighters.
So where's it going? But what is the end game for them? What do they think that will achieve by announcing these kind of really sort of horrific illegal policies, as you've said?
Well,
where do you think it's going with them?
I spent about 2.5 hours watching the Work and Pensions Committee meeting from Monday, which is on X. I definitely retweeted it.
Yeah.
Tom Pollard was on it, who's one of our Twitter buddies.
Yeah.
And he was a brilliant. There were people from various organisations that went to it. It was chaired by Debbie Abrams, who, bless her heart, that woman saved more lives than surgeons do, just with her political campaigning for disabled and sick people. She's amazing. Danny Kruger was there.
Oh, yeah. He's a one-man wrecking machine.
He's an unbelievable contradiction in trousers. What with his God bothering and then killing disabled people at the same time. It's just...
Yeah, exactly.
Pro-life, except if they're disabled and adults.
Yeah. Pro-life, but not your life.
Yeah, exactly. So they basically laid out empirically the cause and effect of what Osborne and Cameron was told was going to happen in 2010.
Yeah.
What's happened since then, the outcomes of all the studies. They had a lady from Oxford who'd done loads of sociological studies, and they were very good. The only thing they didn't talk about, they may have done and I missed it, I don't know, because it was a bit trigger warning. We will be mentioning ending of lives, but not to any great extent. But they didn't talk about the rising number of suicides, which is a fucking problem.
Well, yeah.
You know, in Ellie Reeves' constituency, Rachel Reeves' sister, on the announcement of the cuts, 2 people committed suicide. They talked about the unrelenting distress of people living on benefits, genuine people living on benefits. And I say genuine because a lot of the talk around this is about weeding out benefit cheats, right? Now, PIP has a 0% fraud.
Yeah.
Sum total, because it's so very, very difficult to get.
Yeah, of course.
And it does cost a lot of lives because the process is so arduous and so dehumanizing. It destroys people. And when you're already sick and you're already struggling, and a lot of people don't go on to benefits the minute they get sick, they wait to see if they can cope.
Yeah, of course.
And most people who have previously worked are devastated by A, being ill, and B, losing their freedoms of being able to work. So you're double fucked by the time you get there. And don't get me wrong, I am sure there are people who do go through the PIP process and blag it, because in the history of humanity, there isn't a fiscal circumstance that some twat hasn't tried to game. There isn't one. There isn't one. So that's not exclusive to being on benefits. And we're talking, the amount of money we're talking about being gained is relative peanuts.
Yeah.
But we're still like in the mindset of like 15 years ago when 700 quid was quite a bit of money. Well, it's not now. That's about 400 quid, isn't it, in yesterday's money? Yeah. But it's the inflation thing takes a long time for us all to grasp, and it all happens at various different points in time. So,
but isn't this like a fully? It's just the media being fully biased or heavily right-wing leaning, because it applies to everything, doesn't it? They take a nothing burger, they call it in America, don't they? And then they'll blow it up into this huge, massive furore. So
the trans issue, for example.
The trans issue, 2% apparently is the polling on people that are concerned about it. You wouldn't know that from Kemi Badenoch in the PMQs, but the benefits cheats, in inverted commas, as you say, on PIP, pretty much don't exist. It's nothing really. It's negligible, isn't it? The same with Motability was the big thing a few weeks ago about the Motability cheats. What else? I mean, they just take the election fraud. That was the other thing. I mean, the Tories used that and they massively blew it up, and there was like four people or something that it was a part of that was convicted of election fraud, or even less. I can't remember.
I mean, I would raise a point of order there that I think there is mass election fraud going on, but I think we haven't caught up to the fact that it's happening openly on social media platforms.
Yeah, that's in a different form. Yeah, not at the polling booths. Yeah, no, I agree with that completely.
It's a sort of something that's crept along with modernity, and no, get the fuck out of here. Yeah. Behold America.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
I'm not going to say that because that's going to feed into what you want to talk about later. So sorry,
it's all right.
Go on.
There's no set format, is there? We can talk about anything. So,
well, I mean, that could lead into what we were talking about earlier with the algorithm issues and the fact that I would like to see, like it'll ever happen. I don't know. I hope so. I'd like to see what would happen if the balance of equity was restored on even just X. Just out of curiosity, remove all the bots.
Mm-hmm.
Stop the propaganda, and let's see where we really are.
Yeah, that would be an interesting.
Because it's almost like they're creating like you said, a nothing burger, but that then spreads out, doesn't it, into the ether.
Oh, it does.
And then that spreads out into people like us who are online, and then we talk about it to our obviously not you and me, but that's literally how this muck spreads.
Well, I wrote a post on X this morning saying exactly that. It was GB News last night put out a post with everyone's favourite pub landlord, Adam Brooks, saying that, Adam Brooks, in quotes, "I do not believe socialists can be patriotic. And I sort of saw that this morning. I thought, what? Well, for one, how many socialists do you actually talk to, really? And then I just wrote, well, I don't think Adam Brooks really knows what socialism actually is as a concept or a theory. I think most people on the right don't. They use it as a...
Do you like your weekends? Do you like your bank holidays? I suppose he doesn't because he has staff to pay and he's one of them.
Well, yeah, true.
Little twat.
Socialism and communism sort of just get thrown around by the right and the far right as weapons. That's all I wrote, basically. That's, contrived tripe, I said. But they just use it as exactly what you were just saying. They just create these sound bites that's now out there. He's written this. It's been viewed. Let's see how up to date we are. And for GB News, it's only 26,000 times, but that's enough, right? And Adam Brooks has then promoted it himself. So we're looking at, up to 100,000 people may have seen that. It's nothing. It's a lie. He doesn't know what socialism is. He doesn't know that socialist people can't be patriotic because it's bollocks. But it's a weapon, and they use it on X.
I mean, technically, socialism is the most patriotic thing you can be.
Yeah, I think if it's applied correctly, yeah.
I'll bring in like my theory, because what these dimwits just don't seem to comprehend is that equate it to football or whatever you want.
Yeah.
But if you want your organisation to work well, you need a good team to do that.
Yeah.
And a good team is comprised of people who all think they're the best person for the job with foundation.
Yeah.
Okay. So, for example, if Joe Biden had been a good team player, he'd have said 2 years ago, do you know what? I'm not up to this.
Yeah.
Somebody can do it. I know somebody can do it better than me because I want the best for the team, America.
Of course.
You know, same with, well, I can't think of anyone in British politics it doesn't apply to, because they all think that they are the best team players for the job when clearly very few of them are. Very few of them.
Definitely.
And, you know, that leads to personality types, and you don't want people in your team who just want to be there for the glory when they're not the best participant for that team.
Well, yeah,
it's not difficult. It's not rocket science.
It's not, no.
But we've got a team of people. It seems most countries now, I don't know, you just got a team of people running it who just want to get personal benefit out of the job rather than giving a shit about doing the best job for the people of the country, which is actually the job.
Well, it should be the job. Yeah, exactly right. It should be that's their raison d'etre. It should be nothing else. It should be for the best of everyone. But yeah, we know it doesn't work like that.
Self-entitlement in it makes me sick.
It is. It's quite. If you take a step back and look at it in a different way, the Tory party right now are being just exactly what you just said. There's two egos clashing at the top of the Tory party, which is about to be catastrophic for them as far as I'm concerned. I think with the local elections coming up, Robert Jenrick's a one-man band. Kemi Badenoch doesn't know what he's doing. Jenrick was recorded in the week saying that he would form a coalition of the right with Nigel Farage. You know, and Badenoch's the leader of this party, and he's off, you know, spouting that sort of rubbish, but she won't do anything about it. It's two egos. It's exactly like you just said.
Bet you £1 million for £10 Tice is paying Jenrick.
Yeah, I imagine that's probably true.
Because that's the only way Reform are going to make any strides. You don't win an election off 4 fucking MPs.
No, of course not. No, they can't. No matter how many videos they put out on Twitter, every 5 minutes, there's another 6 new videos uploaded. Yeah,
although Farage is in trouble, isn't he, for selling shares that weren't his to sell?
Really?
I can't.
Oh, I've missed this somehow.
I'm a bit shit on the detail because of my brain.
Well, we can look this up. Actually,
it might be it. I want to say UKIP shares, but that doesn't make any sense. I think it might have been when they first made Reform. There was a lady, I don't know.
Catherine Blakelock. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I do know a little bit about this. Yeah, I think she started some legal. I'm very limited, and I don't want to get myself in trouble.
Oh, she's taken him to court.
That's what I thought. Was she's taken legal proceedings against him, and it was
because she signed shares over to him, didn't she, for nothing, and he then sold them to
Zaya Yusuf.
Yeah, that fella.
Yeah. I read about that. I think it was with the Brexit Party. They started out together, and then when Brexit Party folded and turned into Reform, he was supposed to be giving her money.
Yeah,
but he didn't. Everything Nigel Farage touches turns to shit. Yeah, exactly.
But to go back, all I'm going to say, because it's a pertinent time.
Yeah.
Show me an ego in the Liverpool team.
See, here's something we might disagree on as a lifelong.
Oh no, we won't.
As a lifelong Manchester United
I don't care about football.
Do you not?
No, I'm an MMA girl, obviously.
Yeah, of course. No, Man United since I was 4, but I like. Yeah.
I'm sorry for you.
It's all right. We're absolutely shockingly bad at the moment. So, but you can't have it for 20, 30 years.
Ever.
Whatever we had it. Now we've gone now. So.
Yeah, well done.
Anyway,
we'll be pleased for you.
How we digressed into football? That's random. Anyway. So what were we talking about? We're talking about Reform, sort of. Yeah, they're just kind of... I saw Farage had a press conference today. He announced he was doing an emergency press conference this morning. Can you guess what it was about? What's everything reform's about is immigration.
Oh yeah, they're going to they're going to have a minister for deportation or something, or removals or something.
Minister
for mass doing anything. There's 4 of them. Fuck's sake. They haven't got a policy. They haven't got one policy.
Exactly. I've questioned all of them multiple times online and in social media to just give me anything that's nothing to do with immigration. Just one policy of climate change, economy, growth, anything they want, but no one's ever replied.
We've got more policies, and we've been going for about 10 days.
Exactly. Well,
no, we've had a political party.
Not yet.
Oh, God.
Not yet. But yeah, no, you're right. I mean, the Minister for Deportations. I mean, what are they on about? God knows. Who's going to do that? Lee Anderson, Chief Whip and Minister for Deportations. It's just... Do
you think they believe any of it themselves?
I thought that a lot. I've thought about that an awful lot. I don't think Farage does. I think Farage is all about the money. He'll go wherever he's told to by his funders, Steve Bannon, the dark money that comes across the Atlantic. Richard Tice, I think he believes the net zero, the climate nonsense. But then when you look into him a bit, he drives a Tesla, and one of his property portfolio businesses, he's quite proudly on their website announced that they've gone to solar power for all of their electricity.
It's incredible, isn't it? Incredible. Literally, I don't want to pre-mention it, but Andrea Jenkyns. I happened to have cause to scroll down her timeline yesterday. I try not to. I do keep her blocked most of the time.
Yeah.
She blocked me first, so
Yeah, nice.
She literally was campaigning against solar farms as prospective mayor of Lincolnshire.
Whilst when she was a Tory, she was photographed on multiple occasions opening new solar farms and introducing net zero.
It's almost like they don't give a shit about anything.
Isn't it?
Because they're so rich, it will never affect them.
That's it, exactly. I think that's the crux of an awful lot of our politics, though, isn't it? There's the people that are there don't really give a monkeys. Like, it doesn't affect anybody, does it?
With a bit of luck, next week we'll have Dr. J. Watts on, consultant clinical psychologist, I think. Yeah. And we can discuss this with her a lot. And she'll know things better.
Yeah. Nice to have some proper experts on. Yeah, definitely.
No offense taken.
None, no, exactly. None meant. But yeah. We want to have input from real focused experts as much as we possibly can to either back up or correct us on anything we say. And we're not going to be prissy or if someone says no, you've got that wrong, happy to be corrected wherever it is needed.
It's about not being incorrect, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Try and get the real information out there. Try and be anti for reform, really, because everything they say is a lie.
Well, speaking of reform, should we roll a Sheru?
Yes, let's.
Resident racist Rupert Lowe, spreading more racist nonsense on X. Got a couple of questions from Rupert. Rupert, what is it about black and brown people that makes you feel threatened? I mean, it wasn't black and brown people that travelled to Australia and murdered Aborigines, pillaged and stole their land. It wasn't black and brown people that did the same thing in New Zealand to the Maoris. It wasn't black people that went into India, murdering many millions of Indians and colonising their land and stealing £56 trillion from their country. It wasn't black people who murdered and raped the African continent. Black people did not travel to North America and murdered First Nation Americans. They did not murder Native Americans, and they did not travel to South America murdering indigenous people. It wasn't black people that started 2 wars in China because they wanted to sell drugs within the Chinese borders and the Chinese refused them. It wasn't black men who murdered 6 million Jews. It wasn't black men who dropped bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Hell, we didn't even create the bombs. It wasn't black men who decided to go into Libya, Afghanistan, Iraq, Yemen. It isn't black people now who are murdering Palestinians. So let me ask you a question, Rupert. What is it about black people that makes you feel inadequate? We're just here living our lives. But every single day, you've got to send some racist bar to make yourself feel better. Let me tell you something. What is it about us you don't like? I mean, I don't pay attention to things I don't like. I don't pay attention to you because I don't like you. I don't pay attention to your racist, bigoted followers because I don't like them. So why do you guys have to pay so much attention to us?
Rupert Lowe's done something else. Oh, it's going to annoy me now. I haven't even made a note about it. Rupert Lowe did something.
Oh, Rupert Lowe's always doing something.
Else. Oh, I can't even check on my phone because you're there.
It's all right. Well, thanks to Esther for his clip and his righteous rant. That's brilliant. Rupert Lowe, yeah, there's a whole multi-episode sort of series that we could do about Rupert Lowe and his ongoing, I don't know, what's happening.
It's just occurred to me that I saw him banging on this morning about leaving the ECHR. I don't know whose behalf he was speaking on because he's not.
He's independent.
Right. Okay, so he's literally just spitting hyperbole. However, he was wanging on about leaving the ECHR again.
Yeah, again.
But what these dick riders don't seem to understand is that when you're saying to people, we need to leave the ECHR, you are also saying you should trust in me to look after your best interests.
Yeah, that's
now,
true.
All of these people who want to leave the ECHR have done nothing but show that they are dishonest scumbags.
Yeah, completely.
All of them, every single one of them is an abhorrence to decent human behaviour. So, shut up.
Yeah.
It's a nonsense.
I can say it better myself. I mean,
not that.
Go on, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, not that I'm entirely sure what the ECHR is about, given all this country's violations against the disabled and impoverished. But,
Yeah. Well, perhaps that's someone we could get input on at some point. We can try and find someone who's a bit more knowledgeable about that than us. But I mean, I know that I think every single one of them that brings it up doesn't seem to be aware that apart from sort of, as you say, we're going to put our human rights into the hands of Nigel Farage and Robert Jenrick or Richard Tice, which is ludicrous nonsense because they're incapable of running. People. Exactly. But then there's a list of things that would happen if we did leave the ECHR. Most notably is the Good Friday Agreement would collapse. So how they've got no idea, okay, well, let's just go back to the Troubles, shall we? I mean, that's kind of effectively they're saying we don't really give a toss about Ireland. So,
but the trouble is, I don't think they view these things the way we do.
No.
Because we look at the end of the Good Friday Agreement as, oh, God, there's going to be unrest again. It's going to be terrible for people on the ground, blah, blah, blah. They look at it, and they do, as how can we improve the military-industrial complex?
Yeah,
that's their viewpoint. That is their viewpoint because that's where all their stocks and fucking shares are, and all their mates who work in the industry.
Yeah,
it's literally everything now. Everything, including human beings, and the benefit problem is a proof of this. It's not about people; it's about numbers on spreadsheets and them lining up in the way we want them. And we've got a birth rate crisis. We've got a population in decline. We've got more employment positions than we've got unemployed people, and people still can't get jobs.
And that's getting harder as well, apparently. Yeah.
The got an Uber home from the airport last week, and the driver was lovely. He's a really nice guy who just happened to drop into the conversation that he was he worked for he was an engineer, like I think he said he was like an engineering architect for Network Rail, and he's driving an Uber.
There's no jobs.
And then what was I looking at? Saw a job the other day for something. It was a decent enough job, but it was like 53 grand. Do you know what? It might have been for new healthcare assessors.
Right.
But it was basically, I remember looking at it and thinking, well, that's like £15 an hour more than junior doctors get.
Yeah.
So some sectors are doing quite well, others not so much.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think this is the whole problem. A lot of the issue with the benefit thing is that I found a link to an OECD. I'm getting the acronyms mixed up. So many of them. Chart that I hadn't seen for a while, and it's a bar chart, and it lists the 20 countries in the developed world.
Yeah.
And their rates of sickness benefit.
Sure.
Starting at the top, and I wish I had it with me now. Annoying. We are third from bottom, right? On the amount of money we spend on people like me.
Yeah.
The Joseph Rowntree Foundation estimates that benefits are underpaid by 30% of what is required to live in the UK. Just live like basic. Yeah. This is why
30% below the baseline.
Yeah, I mean, even Stella bloody Creasy the other day was stating how people use PIP to top up their electricity and do their shopping. If you tell a person from the DWP you do that with your PIP, they have instant right to cancel your claim.
Seriously?
Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, yeah.
What are you supposed to do with it then?
You said, well, I use mine. Mine pays for my therapy that I can't get on the NHS.
Yeah.
It pays for my supplements. It pays for additional equipment I need around the house. It pays for taxis if I need them, if I can't get the bus or if the bus doesn't turn up, for medical appointments and stuff. It pays
but why
for
why do they have a sort of red list of things that you're not supposed to spend the money on? That doesn't make sense to me.
Because they're sociopaths.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. But this is endemic of why the UN are so reporting on it so much, because it's insane and it's counterproductive and it's killing people.
Well, of course it's counterproductive.
Now, the two countries below us are Australia and America.
Oh, really?
Now, how's the cost? I know it's wonky in America at the minute. Their cost of living is nothing like ours at all.
No,
it's just not. So effectively, we are right at the bottom, and they want to cut it more.
No, it's crazy. I can't. I know. It's back to where we started, isn't it? And I just can't get my head around it.
Everything's connected.
Yeah. I just don't see what they have gained out. There's a benefit to this. Not benefits. That's the wrong word. But you know what I mean. Where is their gain or their political gain in this? Because I don't see any. I don't see any political gain in doing this, and financially it's negligible. I would imagine what they're bringing in, if they start bringing these benefits down, it just doesn't make any sense on any level, as far as I can say.
One way that I had a point and I've forgotten it again. One way they're really going to screw up is that if you take PIP off someone, they then lose their entitlement to carers allowance.
Yeah.
Okay. If the person who cares for the sick person is no longer getting that carer's allowance and has to go to work, who's going to look after the person? Well, it's going to fall on social services, isn't it?
Of course it is, yeah.
And social services have been royally screwed up the backside for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, donkeys, yeah.
And it's only got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
So how the fuck are local councils going to find thousands of more carers for the people who have had to go back to work? It's an insanity. Yeah, and there's no jobs. There's no fucking jobs for all these people. You want to go back to work.
Yeah.
I'm trying to create my own based on my abilities, and here we are. Whether it'll work or not is another matter. But it's just so unbelievably counterproductive and stupid and evil, and nobody seems to be getting it.
No, this is the thing. And I think when we first spoke about doing this, and I mentioned about doing a podcast just randomly on Twitter, and I said to you about the disability kind of awareness thing, which I wasn't clued up on so much. You know, it doesn't affect me personally, but I wanted to know more about it, and that's what kind of kicked off this whole podcast, the two of us. So
yeah,
I think it's really important now. Every bit that you tell me is just sort of like, what are they doing? I don't understand.
Isn't it? It's an absolute fucking madness.
And
we've got more food banks than we've got McDonald's restaurants.
Yeah, that's crazy. I know, it's absolutely.
And Labour was supposed to be getting rid of them.
Yeah.
How the fuck are you going to eradicate food banks when you're cutting people's benefits? I mean, like I say, I was supposed to go away and I wanted to research the UN reports, right? And I opened the first one and started reading. And I think because I'm in the eye of the storm myself, it's just, I couldn't do it. Because I'm reading about my own experiences that I already know have taken me to the edge of life. And there's like over a decade of these reports, and they're long and they're arduous, and they are literally laying it out in real terms. It's the UN.
Yeah.
This isn't the country I was born and bred in and led to believe.
No.
You know.
No.
We're supposed to be the best in the world.
Yeah. No, we're sitting at the bottom of the league table of the worst in benefits. No, that's just shocking.
And so the only way we can go down is by undeveloping our country. I don't know.
Become a third world country, basically, or a developing nation. Sorry. Yeah, no, that's.
Feels like we're going to have to re-fucking develop at some point, doesn't it? Because this is insane.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, look at the state of. No, nearly went into local council election mode. Then, like, look outside at all the potholes. But yeah, it is a bit like a third world sometimes. It feels like when you're out there. But no, the benefit situation is absolutely nuts, and I just don't know where or. Go on.
I think I might have mentioned it last week. One of the issues they've got, which shouldn't be our fucking problem because we didn't create the mess. But if they suddenly had an attack of the Jeremy Corbyns and went, no, we're going to pay you what you need to live.
Yeah.
Because that's what's right and fair and legal. All the people like my Uber driver are going to be like, are you fucking messing?
Yeah.
I work for a living and I don't manage to bring that in. So I understand the situation. But the fact of the matter is they should be taking it from the people who profited deliberately off all the death during the pandemic and all the profiteering, and they go, right, you're giving us this much, we're taking it and dump it on the lowest sort of 50% of earners.
Yeah, but it doesn't make any sense that this is what I'm trying to say before. I just don't see the political long-term game plan they think that this is going to achieve, because it's causing so much grief, it's causing death, as you said.
Who are they trying to please?
Exactly. Well, who are they?
£6 billion quid's fuck all to them.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm looking at losing half my income.
Yeah.
And I'm only just managing by eating once a day.
No, that's not good enough. It's just not good enough. It's people like Dale Vince, who lives down the road. Well, I don't know where he lives, but he's certainly based down the road from me here.
Yeah.
And he talks about this, and he's, the wealth, take 1% of the wealthiest of people, all of this stops. You just don't need to
patriotic millionaires.
Yes, and patriotic millionaires, exactly. I'd love to get one of those guys on to talk, because they're really interesting.
Yeah.
And I've heard them on LBC and various other places quite a lot of representatives, and they're really interesting people. And they seem to me, I don't know, we need to do a bit more reading and research, but they seem to be decent people, It just doesn't make any sense that 1% of X million and above, and this doesn't need to happen. It doesn't need to happen.
Such a nonsense, because the amounts of money we're talking about, they wouldn't even notice. It would make no material difference to them at all. But they are literally, I genuinely believe they are, stricken's probably not the right word, but we'll use it for now. I'll be nice. They are stricken with an illness of compulsive greed.
Yeah.
And I think it's always been an issue, but I think the last 10 years of this insane culture war of reality being not reality has just added fuel to that fire. And now here we are with a dictator in America. Who knows what the hell's going on in this country? Well, Putin's going on in this country, isn't he? Israel's going on in this country, aren't they? So let's make Britain great again by getting rid of these insane people.
Yeah, that's a nice slogan. That would work.
Yeah.
The No Holds Barred party when it starts up. Yeah. Oh, it's
they're using it's funny because they're using the same argument to not tax the millionaires as they were using to not help the disabled during the pandemic. Did you know? Have you heard of the excluded UK?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
The self-employed. Right. Okay. Yeah. Did you also know universal credit came along to uncomplicate the benefit system? Did the exact opposite, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
But we still just about have legacy benefits. So people who are on employment support allowance are now supposed to be sent over to claim universal credit instead.
Yeah.
Which is actually not what happens, as I learned to my distress, that you end up getting a bit of UC and a bit of ESA and your payments are all over the fucking place. They haven't paid you the right thing in the first place. 3 months it takes you to get it all done right. And it's mental.
Yeah.
But they wanted people to transfer over to UC because you get a little tiny bit less over the years as a disabled person. They reduce it. It's negligible, but when you know,
it's noticeable when you're on the other side of it, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, when you're this close to being destitute, not me personally, but generally, every pound matters. So I had to get forced to be moved over. I held out as long as I could. And then they screwed it all up. But before I transferred, because they wanted everyone to go onto UC to get less money, during the pandemic, they said you can only get the £20 a week uplift to your benefits if you transfer to universal credit.
Oh, that's so grim. What a bunch of bastards.
And their excuse was, we don't have the ability to send an extra £20 to you. Well, no, you do, because you absolutely do, because I can go and apply for a loan and you put it in my account within a week. So you're lying.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And now we can't possibly do this extra wealth tax because there just isn't the system in place.
Yeah, my arse.
Fucking create one then, you absolute wank shaft, I swear to God.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's so sneaky. Weaponising a pandemic. Yeah.
But this is why the UN are on it, because it's left, right and centre. That they've been using the press to do it since time immemorial.
Yeah.
To demonise, the sick and disabled. It's just fucking crackers. It's cruel. It's literally what psychopaths do.
It is cruel. Yeah, it is. It's very grim.
The only other, apart from the funnies for the end, the only other thing on my list I've got is the absolute apoplexy that was released on Twitter this week when children were fed breakfast.
Oh God.
They rolled out the Breakfast Club at Schools week, and the right wing are livid.
Yeah. How dare they feed children?
There is a campaign of buying a loaf of bread for 50p and a can of spaghetti hoops from Aldi for 27p, which apparently can feed a kid breakfast for a week.
I saw that.
So that's all smashing. Because we don't need nutrition, you just need energy. Yeah. No nutrition, ignore that. You don't need a healthy body for the rest of your life while you're developing. Just get you through the day at the age of 6. You'll be fine.
Yeah. I know, it's mad. I saw that come out, and I saw all the usual accounts on Twitter saying about the Aldi 27p beans and the 50p bread. How fucking heartless do you have to be to think that's acceptable? I just don't get it. I mean,
not just heartless though, it's ignorant. It's like,
well, Yeah, it is.
Tell me you don't understand economics and sociology without saying those words.
Yeah, exactly.
Well done, you fucking moron. Would you like to live in a country where people are healthy and intelligent and everything works well, or this?
Yeah, I know. I saw a couple of accounts trying to reason it from the other side, saying, well, I can afford to spend time with my children and feed them breakfast, and then they go to school and get another breakfast. What a waste of money. And again, it's like, what? Completely, I don't know if it's willful misrepresentation. They just don't get it, or, they're just trying to stir it, which a lot of them I know will be. But
it reminds me of the, sorry.
Go on, no, that's it, done. Yeah.
No, I was just, it reminds me of the Ricky Gervais gag, isn't it? With the guy that walks past the notice board offering guitar lessons. He's like, I don't want fucking guitar lessons.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah, that's it. It's the same. It's exactly that. Give them breakfast and then tell them not to have it at school. I mean, it doesn't really make much difference either way. But
I don't believe it's compulsory.
No, it's not. Exactly. That's the point, isn't it? Willful misrepresentation of the facts, as always, just to get people to be annoyed. Yeah.
Oh, that was the other thing we were going to talk about, wasn't it? Clicks and how they're very unfair.
Clicks and how they're very unfair, indeed.
In a way.
My experience of platform manipulation that I noticed and uncovered last week, I think it was. I put out a long post. It was all about reform, but it was about the right and the far right and how they seem to be trying to mirror Project 2025, the American dark money funded government policies, whatever, that Trump seems to be enacting at the moment. It's sort of things like abolishing education, they've shut down the Department of Education in America. Like, that's definitely going to be promising. That's definitely not going to come back to bite them in the arse in about 10 years time at all. But Project 2025 is something I want to talk about more in depth, so we'll talk about that properly in a few weeks. But for the time being, I wrote this and mentioned Project 2025 I think 6 times in my post. 2 days later, I noticed my engagement on Twitter had dropped from around about 100,000 views a day. I'm not like a big name, so I don't get loads, but that's enough, down to like 20. So 20,000. It dropped off. I put a graph out. You can have a look on my Twitter. It's there. You can see the direct impact. Then a Twitter colleague, friend, Marcus Fitzsimon, posted under that and said, oh, I noticed the same drop off in engagement. I mentioned Project 2025 and all of a sudden everything stopped. I thought, well, that's interesting. So that was 2 days later. I went back and re-edited the post, removed all references to Project 2025 from my post, left it up as it was, well, without those references, same content. Lo and behold, I think 6 hours later, my Twitter engagement was noticeably up. And within 2 days, I was back up to sort of 100,000 views again and upwards and back to normal levels. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. That
it's cheating is what it is.
Yeah, well, it's definitely cheating. But there's Elon Musk sat there and he's obviously putting a load of things into his algorithm. If these things are mentioned, drop them off. It's crazy. And it's really dangerous. And it's really dark. I think you said it earlier, that it's electoral fraud effectively when you start looking at these things, when you're holding back certain phrases and keywords. It's there's I think the military
very free speech, isn't it? Very free speech.
Well, exactly, free speech, but only for what they tell you this
for me,
free
not
speech.
Yeah,
exactly. Like the military use something, I think, or they used to, called echelon, and it was like when people mention certain words on phone calls, you say a certain phrase
GCHQ.
or a keyword, suddenly, it starts recording just in case. Fair enough. But it's the same. It's exactly the same technology being applied across X now. You mention one phrase, Project 2025 in my case, and that's it. You're really held back severely. Take it away, and it just opens up again. It's just madness.
It's good that you figured out what it was, though, because I've been stuck for 2 years now.
Yeah, well, I mean, a credit to Marcus who posted that to me, and as soon as he said it, I'd suddenly thought, well, that's what I put out a couple of days ago, was directly referencing Project 2025. Took it away. All of a sudden, the throttles and the gates are opened again. I'm back to normal.
Yeah, I mean, you're obviously already very aware of that, but it's not just, it's a thing that's happened completely against, they've weighted the right against the left.
Yeah,
with
100%.
Absolute impunity, and they're promoting all the right accounts and shadow banning all the left accounts that are quite vociferous.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a really interesting article in the New York Times, I think it was yesterday, about this exact same thing. And it was a right-leaning ex-commentator, big account, sort of 500,000 kind of followers account, was very supportive of Trump, but then started criticizing Musk. I think it was last year, October. I'll dig out the details and I'll put a link to it in the show notes. But the whole the New York Times article is about it shows you the exact same thing that happened to me. Instantly, their engagement was ended effectively, and that was just because Musk, and in this occasion, was so thin-skinned that, as you say, it's free speech for you, but only if I like it. And he cut them off. And this was a big political commentary account. It was a right-leaning account. It wasn't a left one on that occasion. But there's the MIT article is really interesting, so I'll put a link to that. But
that'd be good.
It's very dark.
I'd love to know what mine was.
Yeah, what held you back?
Well, like I said, I've got recollections of going in hard on Braverman.
Yeah.
And she had me put on the naughty step for a week, I think. I've been on the naughty step a few times. Although, I had a 7-day. I can't remember even what it was for. It wasn't for anything like right-wing ban-worthy, do you know what I mean? It was for being factually accurate, but using words that she didn't like. Which is what I tried to do.
Yeah.
And I was getting about, my account started picking up after I did my speech, and I was getting about 500 a month, and then all of a sudden it just frozen, and that was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So that Christ knows what I'd have to delete.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. It's so worrying that you have to be so self-aware now in order to sort of use X as some sort of political tool now. It used to be. It was always a bit there was always a bit of an algorithm going on, but it was always quite kind of balanced back, 5, 6, 7 years ago. But now it's just so heavily leaning to the right and so badly throttling anyone who's dissenting against what Musk wants you to say.
It does, or it did help me, certainly, to misspell my profanities with Q's.
Yeah, I had noticed that.
I've not had a timeout since.
No. I've only ever had one, which was really undeserved, I thought. Lee Anderson, I think it was after Southport. He put out a picture of a noose last year after Southport, or after some trial data came out, and it basically, that's all
I recollect that, yeah.
It was a big picture of a noose, and I put underneath it, I just replied to Lee Anderson, and I said, that seems really, really dangerous. You shouldn't be posting stuff like this on X. That was about it. I got a ban because I called him out on posting a noose and not inflaming.
That's mental.
So obviously he got his entire Reform little bot army to report me. It was only a 24-hour ban. It was the only one I've ever had. But it was for calling out Lee Anderson for posting a picture of a noose.
And that's exactly what we're talking about.
Exactly.
They're protecting psychopaths and predators and terrible, terrible people. The fuck it. We've got a human behaviour problem. Speaking of human behaviour problems and reform.
I can see where this is going.
Yeah, I happened upon a tweet this week from a company that I did not realise owns my local. And they were advertising a special night that they're holding at one of their venues. For one night only, this year apparently. They are hosting an evening with Ant Middleton. I'm a criminal, but I still think I can run for London Mayor, Middleton.
Wow.
Now, even if I had £95 for a ticket, I wouldn't want to go, wherever it was. But they have literally picked the worst taste venue in the country to do this one night this year with Ant Middleton. He is hosting it in Southport.
Wow.
Because that's what these people are. Thoughtless, pond life scumbags.
That's just...
It's sick. It's absolutely sick. And I am very confident that if you ask the parents of those 3 poor little girls if they want that flat in their town, I reckon they'd all say no.
Yeah.
Just like they did to the rioters.
Yeah, exactly.
It's disgusting. It's like tragedy tourism or something. I don't know.
It is. It's just weaponizing an absolute catastrophe of the highest order. It is sick. It's on so many levels, just disgusting.
Farage should be in prison for that.
Yeah, I agree. Fully agree.
Just absolutely disgraceful people.
Yeah, Ant Middleton is not worth much time. He won't win London Mayor, clearly. He's just the same as we've got Aaron Banks down here trying to be Mayor of the Southwest. Neither of those 2 people will be accepted.
They're just on the grift, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
They just want, give us campaign funds, please. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Although I did hear, I don't know how it applies to their bigger names like Banks and Middleton and Jenkins, but the local council people from Reform were promised money from head office, but were told, nope, you have to fund your own campaign. About a month ago, just sort of 6 weeks up to the local elections, there was lots of Facebook posts from local councillors saying this is not right. We were promised by Nigel Farage that they would give us campaign funds, but they've been told in no uncertain terms, no, you're not having any money. Do it yourself.
So these people heard Farage make a promise and thought he'd follow through with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's fine.
We all know what Farage does with promises. Throws them in the bin. Yes, exactly. So, yeah. So that was an interesting side. I think Middleton, Jenkins, Aaron Banks, the bigger names, they'll be on, as you say, they're on the grift. They're getting whatever they can out of it. There's no reason otherwise. But yeah, the local grassroots
sleep?
Yeah, quite well in their big gold-plated beds, I assume.
That's pretty much what Johnny Mercer said to me when I asked him on a Facebook Live. So how do you sleep at night? And he went, "Oh, I sleep great." Yeah, of course you do, you fucking belter.
Yeah, I'm glad I haven't heard his name for a while.
He makes me sick.
He's quite...
But speaking of military knobheads, that Fred twat was on one this week, wasn't he? Or was it at the end of last week with his poster Corbyn?
Oh, I thought, yeah. He deleted it eventually, didn't he?
Yeah, eventually. It took him about 2 days, but he's the latest.
Fred Thomas or Fred Thompson? I can't remember.
Fred Thomas, that's it.
Thomas, yeah. Yeah, that was
parachute.
Yeah, that was a really ridiculous thing to put out. I don't know why he did it, but
to make himself feel, they're just pathetic. It's just pathetic.
Games, all about the games. So I think wrapping up, we've got a couple of funnies to finish, or maybe 3 actually. You've got a couple, I've got one.
That is the upside of terrible and stupid people. They are occasionally hilarious.
Provide some content for us that we don't need to worry about.
Oh, it's just, yeah. So what we got? We got Darren Grimes and his, I think, obvious obsession to jump to conclusions.
That's putting it kindly.
Well, I do try sometimes.
Yeah.
I know people don't say it very often, but I do try to be kind. And then we've got Andrea Jenkyns with possibly some of her best work, I think. And she's done a few things, but this is some of her finest work.
It's pretty special. It is pretty special. So, yeah, here's Darren Grimes.
Yeah. So Darren Grimes thinks that nuns are Muslims.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens when the Pope dies. They get the Muslim ladies in with their black hijabs.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
He's a very special boy, Darren Grimes, and I think he I don't know, brainwashed into this sort of cult of thinking everything has to be weaponized by the far right. I don't know. Or if he's just doing it for money.
He might be the finest example of a little bit of information's a dangerous thing.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
And a narcissistic personality to boot. It's not a great combination.
No, it's not.
Common, very common. But yeah, that's what you get.
Yeah, that seems to be prevalent on TV news. That seems to be nearly every single one of their contributors seems to fall into that.
Not him anymore.
Yeah, that's true. He got the hoof.
Yes, he resigned. Honest.
Resigned.
Nothing to do with his sex pest allegations and nothing to do with that at all.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Deviant bastards.
And the other funny one you've got is...
Oh, well, yeah. Andrea Jenkyns' finest work. That's all I can say.
I'm here outside the Glory Hall in Lincoln. We've been campaigning and we've had a rock-solid response.
I think that's all you need to say. Yeah. I'm going to put a screenshot in. In the edit, and it's me Googling the phrase Andrea Jenkyns glory hole.
I have never been so disappointed in an internet search in my life.
Nothing.
If you Google Lincoln's glory hole, it's an anomaly.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one, but wow.
Yeah. Andrea Jenkyns glory hole. Zip. Zero. She's had stuff removed, definitely. But interestingly,
glory hole.
I know. Don't injure yourself. It does give us some light relief to finish up with.
It's so needed.
I'll put the clip in because it is worth watching. You know, it's 4 seconds of pure unadulterated
joy.
Yes, exactly. Andrea Jenkyns.
Just the lack of awareness.
That she's gone through her entire social media and had Google remove all references to it. But at the time of recording on Thursday afternoon, it's still available on her Threads account and her official Threads account. So, yeah.
It's almost like they're not competent people.
Almost. You could say that. Well, she might be rejected anyway from the mayoral race. We'll find that out
tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah, Friday. Yeah, we'll find that out.
That would be humiliating for her, wouldn't it?
That would be an extra special bit of joy if that happened, because it would be just, well deserved, I think, is probably what I'd say.
I've heard you can find glory holes anywhere, so it should be all right.
Yeah. They'd parachute her into another seat with a better glory hole somewhere. Yeah. Oh no, this is taking a really dark turn.
It was of her making, as it always is.
It certainly was. Yeah, that was it. So yeah, Andrea Jenkyns. What can you say? There was one other thing I noticed in the news this morning, which I found quite amusing, but it's not funny. It's not as funny as Andrea Jenkyns because nothing is. It was the Liberal Democrats are sort of calling for people on buses playing music to be fined £1,000, and you can tell it's local elections next week because that's what the Lib Dems are good at. They're very good at local elections, so they want a grand fine. They've no real sort of plan as to who would back this up.
Of all the things to announce, I mean, I'd love to have been in that strategy meeting. I've got it, lads. I've got it. I know what we should do. This is going to be a real vote winner. This. All the people who travel on buses are going to vote for us now. Fuck off. This is why. This is a perfect example of why I genuinely say that the Lib Dems are just they're all performative, but they're just there to placehold.
Yeah.
They're not a serious. I wish they were a serious party. They are not.
No,
they're just not, and that is absolute proof. Yeah. What an absolute nonsense. I mean, it's annoying, but there's about 156,000 other things that are far more prescient to deal with.
Exactly. It will win them a few council seats, I think, because people get annoyed. I noticed on LBC at lunchtime, Sheila Fogarty went in on it as her main subject at 1:00 today. And she bangs on about it a lot, about people playing music and stuff on the trains and on the buses. So she said,
if that's your biggest problem.
She said £1,000 is not enough. She'd have multiple more of that to deter them. So yeah, I don't know how they're going to get 10 grand out of a 15-year-old playing Kendrick Lamar on the bus, but hey, that's their plan. I think that's enough. Apart from, to finish up, we've got 2 guests coming up, as you mentioned earlier. Your guest is
Dr. J. Watts, clinical psychologist.
Yes.
And we're going to come and talk about all things human behaviour.
Yeah, which will be really, really interesting to do. So we'll get that booked in as soon as we can, and we'll update as to the dates on that. And I've got a friend of mine who I used to know really well when I lived in Spain, called Mark. He spent the last few months out in Ukraine volunteering. He's been on, I think, like 5 miles from the front line in Bucha and various places like that. He's been putting pictures and stuff on his Instagram, and I got in touch with him to see if he'd like to come and chat about his experiences, and he was very much up for that. He told me that he promised the people that he met in Ukraine that he would get their stories out as much as possible.
Fabulous.
So if there's any, give him a little window to get some stuff out, that'd be great. So some things to look forward to in the coming few weeks from us. And that's it, I think.
I know, yeah.
But that's cool. I'll get on with that later, and hopefully we'll get this out tomorrow, Friday again.
Wicked.
Same as last week. Although one more thing I forgot to mention is that I got an email whilst I was at Legoland on Wednesday with my son's birthday from Spotify, who host our podcast, saying you're getting popular. It said, was the headline. Your podcast, No Holds Barred. So I sort of got excited and had a look at the email. It says you're ranked 150th in podcasts in the UK this week.
Out of how many?
Well, I forgot to look into that, but I'm going to take it as a win. So
we've got a number.
Hopefully there's more than 150. Yeah, that's it. As I said at the beginning, we want everyone to become part of this as much as possible. So anyone that sees this or hears it, get in touch. Get involved.
Like, share, subscribe.
Like, share, subscribe. As you saw Esheru do, thanks again for him. Send us a video and we'll put it in and we'll have a chat about it. Yeah, that's great to have him in our 2nd episode. So really appreciate that happening. But anyone's invited. Anyone can join us.
Absolutely. It should be called like Sal and Don's Twitter pal, shouldn't it?
Yeah. Not as catchy, I don't think. But yeah, I might put that as a tagline underneath. But yeah, get in touch. All the details will be in the show notes. That's it for episode 2, I think. Thank you very much. Goodbye.